everybody. Derek Sheridan, Rustbelt Basketball Coaches Network. We had a great weekend of high school basketball here in Northwest Ohio and also across the border in northern Indiana. I want to talk about a few of those games, but before I get into that, this week in review is brought to you by not only Rustbelt Basketball Coaches Network, but also RBS Activewear out of Argyle, Wisconsin, the great state of Wisconsin. RBS is a fantastic place to get your team's swag, your coach's apparel, your camp t-shirts, your camp equipment, or even your equipment for regular season. They're fast. Their prices are more than fair. Their delivery charges are far less than anybody else who I've done business with. And the customer service, forget about it. They are expedient, they are fast, they are great communicators, and I've had nothing but great experiences when dealing with RBS Activewear. So give them a call. Even though they're not from Ohio, they do business all over the Rust Belt. Give them a call. You will not be disappointed that you did. I want to start off with an update. Flat Rock High School out of Flat Rock, Michigan features Graham Junge, one of the best basketball players in the state of Michigan, even though he's only a sophomore. Graham is also an all-state quarterback. He was all-state as a freshman and as a sophomore. And I've seen him play live, and I've seen him play several times on video. He is the real deal. I wrote in one of our newsletters that Graham reminds me a lot of Dante Jackson, who had a great career at Greenfield McLean High School here in Ohio, and then took his talents on to Xavier, where he had a fantastic 4-year career. Graham can do a little bit of everything. He's an outstanding shooter. He can play with his back to the basket. More often than not, he's their team's point guard. And as far as range goes, I've seen him drop some three-point shots from 24, 25 feet. So anyway, Graham has had a season-ending knee injury, and it's incredible how much Flat Rock has won without Graham. Losing a kid like Graham, I can't imagine. He's one of the best basketball players I've seen, but it's a testament to Coach Rick Smith at Flat Rock and his staff. You know, they're 17-5, 13-1 in the Huron League, which they've already won. But our prayers and wishes go out to Graham for a speedy recovery, and I certainly hope that Flat Rock has an outstanding postseason. Here in Ohio, Patrick Henry, the Patriots, the home of Jim Amspoker, one of the most famous lads from Patrick Henry or Hamler, Ohio, upset Antwerp 35-22. And it was one of the games I know I like to talk about in our newsletter or on our social media outlets that are very intriguing to me. It was a game of contrasting styles. Patrick Henry is really good at grinding it out. They're solid defensively, very efficient offensively. In Antwerp, Coach Billman's team, they like to get out and go and pressure and play a much faster pace. But Patrick Henry ended up pulling the upset off, 35-22. PH was 17-5, and Antwerp was 18-4 heading into the sectionals. And I have a link here for the Blade article regarding that game. Patrick Henry will face MAC foe Marion Local this week at Bowling Green State University on Tuesday, March 7th at 6 p.m. Marion Local is currently 22-5, and for those of you who might not be familiar with Northwest Ohio, it's really a cool thing. I've thought about this a lot. The MAC is undoubtedly one of the best conferences in all of the Rust Belt. The state of Ohio, in the state of Ohio, no conference has won more state championships overall than the MAC. And then Patrick Henry from the Northwest Ohio Athletic League, the NWOAL, which is another league that's very well thought of and is a knuckle dragger as far as a league that's more than physical. Patrick Henry beat Patrick Henry beating Antwerp. I don't want to say it surprised me, but one of the things that did surprise me was how Patrick Henry's coach Heber was able to keep the score as low as they did. He came in with a great game plan, and I thought their execution on both ends of the floor was outstanding. And civilians who have never coached have no idea how hard it is to keep a team as well coached and as athletic, and they are a scoring phenom, Antwerp, to keep them to 22 points. I mean, that to me really surprised me. So congratulations to Patrick Henry and Coach Heber and his staff and players. You can get the game stats in this link. And Rustbelt Basketball Coaches will be in attendance for their game at Bowling Green State University Tuesday to face Marion Local. I think it's going to be a absolute knockdown, drag-out grinder. Two big physical teams who are known for football and outstanding basketball. So I'm looking forward to that game. I think it's going to be outstanding. Rossford defeats Central Catholic 48-34 for district championship. Rossford came into the sectionals 18-4, 14-0, winning the NBC Northern Buckeye League or Northern Buckeye Conference outright. Central came in 18-4 and 11-3 in the track, the Three Rivers Athletic Conference, which is arguably one of the best, if not the best, basketball conference in the state of Ohio. It was good to see Rossford win a district championship. I'm very close with Brian Forst, their head coach, and it's nothing against Mike Floyd. Mike Floyd was the District 7 Coach of the Year at the Division II level, so everybody knows what kind of coach Mike Floyd is, at least everybody in Northwest Ohio. And Central Catholic will always be a dear, special place in my heart. So it was one of those games Stephanie and I watched, and sort of had a hard time jumping on the bandwagon for either team because of my admiration for Central, being having been an assistant coach there, but I've been friends with Coach Forrest for years. It was great to see him win. I know one thing that this win definitely did for the Rossford Bulldogs was one of the big questions surrounding Rossford this season is how would they do or how would they play against a team of their caliber if Derek Vorst, their 6'10 center, got in foul trouble. And that's exactly what happened in this game. And Rossford's guards, Jake Morrison to be one of them, did a great job of handling the basketball and tempoing the game to keep the game at their pace. But I thought their defensive effort with Coach Vorst's vaunted matchup zone and their spread offense did a good job of allowing them to keep the game at their pace. But it was a battle. It was a good game to watch. Rossford will face WBL Western Buckeye League foe Van Wert Thursday, March 9th at Bowling Green State University with a tip time of 8 p.m. And that's going to be another knuckle dragger. That's going to be a game of two physical teams who are really good on the defensive end. Both teams are outstanding when it comes to rebounding, and both teams execute very, very well. So I think if anybody's going to have a game plan that'll be conducive to pulling off a win versus Van Wert, it'll definitely be Brian Vorst. And this is one of my favorite pictures. I found this picture online today, and I think that pretty much sums it all up in regards to high school basketball. When you get to this time of the year, you've got Coach Vorst, who looks like he's getting ready to give birth, and Coach Morrison, and then you've got a coach on the bench praying. I think it's great. That picture pretty much sums it up. But congratulations go out to the Rossford Bulldogs. Perrysburg defeats Lima Senior, and over the last decade or so, this game has kind of become a staple of Northwest Ohio district basketball. It seems like these two teams have faced each other darn near every year. But Perrysburg really laid it to them this year, 80-42. Coach Boyce had a great game plan. They didn't try to slow the game down at all. They went right at them. And if you haven't seen Perrysburg play this year, they have 5 guys on the floor who can flat play. This Perrysburg team is a little bit looser than some of of Coach Boyce's other teams. What I mean by that is these guys play a little bit more freely. They still run all Coach Boyce's sets, but it just seems like they have a little bit more of an open concept to them this year. Defensively, they're always going to be solid. I know they've always got coaches 1-1-3 matchup zone in their back pocket, but they're switching full court man to man is a beast, and all the presses they have from Coach Boyce's years with longtime assistant coach Brent Schaefer. I've had to face those things firsthand, and let me tell you, it's not an easy thing beating Perrysburg. So I'm happy to see Perrysburg move on, and I wish them the best of luck. They're going to play at University of Toledo Thursday, March 9th at 7 p.m., and that's going to be a great game. Moving over to the west, the Peru Tigers upset Oak Hill on Friday and Norwell on Saturday. And Indiana's a couple weeks behind us anyway. So these were for sectional. This was for a sectional championship. Peru's coach, Eric Thompson, who, if you know me, I have a tendency to talk about Eric a lot. I've always felt like Eric has been one of the better coaches in this area. He spoke at our summer clinic one year, and Eric's, if not the best, he's definitely in the upper echelon of coaches who teach the blocker mover offense. He has his kids executing this time of year every year just as well, if not as more so as any other coach I've ever met. Eric's teams always seem to pull off big upsets, and I could ramble on about that for a long time, but Oak Hill's Oak Hill. I was an assistant coach there, I think, in 96 or 97, and that's a basketball juggernaut. Kevin Renbarger's won a state championship at Oak Hill, and he's been coaching there since the mid-90s, and he's a fantastic coach, even better person. But I knew that game was going to come down to the wire, and Peru ended up with the upset, 55-47 over Oak Hill. And you can get the stats on the game clip I've got sectioned off here. So then yesterday, Peru upsets Norwell, who I believe was number 3 in the state in Class 3, if my memory serves correct. But Peru beat them 78-68, and Peru switching man-to-man and execution offensively was fantastic on both ends of the floor. I thought that they executed well. They rebounded really well, and they really went out and got after Norwell. So it was one of those games I knew was going to be really interesting just because of how the style of play was going to be contrasting. And I've got a YouTube clip here highlighted for you that you can check that out. Purdue will face Delta, which is a school outside of Muncie, Indiana, at Newcastle Chrysler Arena on March 11th at 7 p.m. And I think Stephanie and I are going to zip down there. Maybe I can even talk Matt and Adam to jump along with us. So I think that's going to be one of the better games in the state of Indiana that day. But that's it, folks. That's a wrap. That's our week in review for Rustbelt Basketball Coaches Network. And again, I'd like to thank our friends at RBS Activewear for helping us put this together and helping us out here at Rustbelt Basketball Coaches Network. If you would like to be on our subscription or our mailing list for our e-newsletter that comes out each week, which we've named In Ted's Honor, named after longtime Kansas high school basketball coach Ted Anderson, who was a close friend of mine for many years, who we unexpectedly lost a little over a year ago. So for those of you who do know Ted, Ted was a basketball fanatic. I had never met a person in my life who administered more in-person and online clinics than Ted Anderson. So our newsletter is to honor Ted, to keep his memory fresh and alive in the basketball world. If you'd like to be a part of that and receive it every week, shoot an email to me, derek.sheridan, so derek.sheridan at derek.sheridan44@gmail.com, and I'll add you to our subscribers list. You could really help us out, folks, if you would access our YouTube channel and hit the subscribe button and like and share and comment on the content we have. That really helps us grow Rustbelt Basketball Coaches Network. And just in case you're asking, though, that is not a toilet flushing, that is our sump pump. We've had a ton of rain here over the last few days in beautiful Bowling Green, Ohio, so our sump pump is going crazy. Hey, have a great week, and I hope to see some of you out at the games. And give RBS Activewear a shout if you have any needs for your team, or even if you just want to order a few things for yourself. They screen print, embroider, everything's done there on campus, and the turnaround time is very fast, surprisingly fast. Hey, have a great week, folks.